Welcome back to the Do Hard Things Today podcast. Today we are talking about the Dopey Challenge in Walt Disney World Marathon Weekend. We love Run Disney. My co-host Jed Blackwell and his wife were down for their first Run Disney event this past January, and we are already halfway through 2024, and that means that we're in July, and July means the beginning of training for the Dopey Challenge. So we're gonna open up this series. We do a little series every year talking about the Dopey Challenge, Walt Disney World, Run Disney, their marathon weekend, just to let you guys know what the Dopey Challenge is and what this whole deal. Walt Disney World Marathon Weekend. Many people know what Disney is, and they go visit Disney, go see Mickey Mouse, go ride the roller coasters, eat good food. They don't know there's this huge thing called Run Disney. And they put on this series of events throughout the year at Walt Disney World and at Disneyland over in California, doing those races again. But the Walt Disney World, their crown jewel is Walt Disney World Marathon Weekend. And Walt Disney World Marathon Weekend is generally going to be the second weekend of January. And this is where we have the marathon, Walt Disney World Marathon, Walt Disney World Half Marathon, the 10K, and the 5K. And if you choose to do all four of those, you're called a Dopey Challenger. And I've been doing the Dopey Challenge. Now, I am what you call a perfect Dopey. I've done every single one of them. And we have seen all kinds of things, including some of the things we'll talk about as we review some of the weekend from last year with Jed. And his wife, Bonnie's not with us, but Jed can share some of her experiences as well, because the half marathon was a different animal this past time. But with that said, Jed Blackwell, how you been doing, man?
I've been doing good. I'm excited to be here to talk for the first time constructively about Dopey, because every time we've talked about it before, it's been a thing that I might do eventually. And you know, having participated in one of the races now, I feel like I can talk with a little bit of authority about what it takes to do one of them anyway. Doing pretty good. Excited to talk about it. I can't believe it's already, a little bit past the halfway mark, actually.
It is. And, Jed conquered his first 5K last year, and he tackled that. Even had a little inclement weather at the end of it.
Yeah. If you've been raining sideways, it was a little inclement weather, yeah.
Yeah, so there's we always, every year we have some first-timers that are listening. So for those first-timers, those people that maybe have, I remember last year, you were nervous about just the magnitude of this event and things. Give people just a quick Cliff Notes version of what that experience was like for you.
If it's your first time, you're not prepared for the crowd. You're just not. There's more people than you've ever been around to run. I don't care what 5K you've run. You're not prepared for the crowd. You're also not prepared for the overwhelming positivity that accompanies you everywhere you go. People cheering for you, people you've never met encouraging you, people kind of pushing you forward, the character spots that you'll be able to stop at. And if you're making it a big deal like I was making this thing a huge deal. It's not. It's not a huge deal. It's a fantastic race. It's a great first experience. But the Dopey folks like you, are going out to run 3 miles to get it done. They just want it over with. You won't see many of those folks. You might see them on the bus, but they'll be finished before you start. It's a fun, just kind of lighthearted race. It's what you make out of it. There was a lady, and I talked to him a little bit. She was pushing someone in a wheelchair. The person had signed up and then had injured themselves, but wanted to compete. And I watched their glow. I watched their light, and I would chase their light a little bit. And they would pull ahead of me when I would stop and take a picture. I'd pass them when they stopped for a character or water or whatever. And I finished probably within 30 paces of them. Yeah. That's what it was, just picking out something and having fun. Yeah. I probably made a little bit too much of it before I went down there, and I didn't understand what was going to be massive and what wasn't.
Well, Disney races are an experience. They're unlike any other race in that it's this full experience that you get from literally the time that you're walking into the whole race corral area where they stage you with. There's all kind of entertainment. There's characters there. that kind of thing, into the on-course entertainment. All those things are going on. But at the end of the day, it's still, for the 5K, it's 3.1 miles. For the 10K, it's 6.2. For the half, it's 13.1. And for the full, it's 26.2. So it's like any other race in that, but it's unlike any other race because of the experience that you get to have. Just go ahead.
And it was a little bit infectious. I haven't run in a little bit. It's been hot, but I kept it up, and we actually took a vacation in late March, and went on a cruise. I power walked, didn't run, but I power walked every day on the ship, including my fastest mile ever.
Well, and it kind of kicked off a little bit of, you've lost quite a few pounds, through this whole process, and so it's kind of kicked off.
It has, and I feel better, and I'm old and sore, but I'm not as sore as I probably should be. Yeah. So,
well, and if your lovely wife was with us, then she would tell a bittersweet story.
She would.
For those of you that don't know what happened this past January, is in January. This past marathon weekend, it's actually a 4-day event now. There's some inclement weather coming in on Saturday, and that's the half marathon day, and so they actually cut the course short.
Yeah, could have cut it a lot shorter. I think she got to run 7 miles. They eventually cut it to about 5. Had some thunderstorms in the area. We were in line for Everest, which is her favorite ride, when she found out that she wasn't going to be able to run her half the next day. So she was a little sad, but she ran fast. She went off nearly last, and she ran fast enough to stay ahead of the people who ended up sweeping because of weather. They didn't sweep anybody, but they diverted people because of weather. She actually stayed ahead of the diversion enough where she got to run most of the Epcot course.
Yeah.
So she was proud of that and turned in a pretty good time, and it was fun.
And I told her it was an interesting when that happened. The bad part was we did not get to run through Magic Kingdom during the half, which is always a really fun part of the experience. But for the first time during the half marathon portion of that race, we actually got to run all the way through World Showcase.
Yeah, and she was far enough ahead that she got to do that. Yeah, so she was really impressed with that too. Yeah,
and so it was kind of an interesting Saturday to that, and then thankfully all that weather cleared out, and we had a good Sunday for the marathon weekend to finish in that. So yeah, there's going to be people listening right now, and we're going to talk specifically about the Dopey Challenge, and through this whole series that we do leading up to January of 2025, we'll cover all kind of things. We'll cover race strategies in depth. We'll cover, so a little bit of touring things where we will bring in Jed's wife, Bonnie, to talk about some of those things. But this first one, we just want to kind of break the ice and say, all right, for those people who have signed up, back when you signed up, it seemed like a great idea. And now here you are in July, the Jeff Galloway training plan has started up. It's blazing hot outside, and you're wondering, maybe, what did I get myself into, and what do I need to do, and how am I going to manage this monumental task?
That's a loaded question, because there are so many things that you've got to do to manage it. You don't have to make theme park reservations anymore. That's good. Yeah. You do need to find somewhere to stay. You need to figure out how you're going to get there. But before you do any of that, you got to figure out how you're going to attack these races, because for the half and the marathon, you have to put up a standard, right? You have to be able to compete. You have to know what you're doing.
Yeah, you do. I mean, some people will go into the half marathon without a lot of training and can just gut their way through it. It's really hard to do that for a marathon. The pace, you got to maintain a 16-minute per mile average pace. And sometimes people make a mistake they'll say, well, I can walk a 16-minute mile.
Right.
Well, you might be able to walk one
but
or two or three. But when you get into 26 miles, you have to do some training to get yourself to that. The good thing about Disney is you see everything. You see elite runners to brand new runners to people who intentionally, they're going to walk the entire race and they train for that.
Right.
So it's a very inclusive environment. But I would just caution people not to take this as, hey, I'm going to Disney, it's going to be a good time, and I'm going to go out there and I can just walk this 26 miles, and it'll be, especially if you're doing the Dopey, because the hardest thing about the Dopey is these things just compound on top of each other.
Right. It's not 26.
Yeah, it's 3 miles one day.
Right.
Additional 6 the next. Additional 13 the next. And then you're standing at the beginning of a full marathon, and you already have that amount of miles on your body. Plus, you're in the most magical place on earth, so you've probably been out touring the parks, walking around. You may have walked an additional 15 or 20 miles in the parks for those 3 days.
I know we did. We walked probably 12 miles a day.
Yeah.
Now I'm married to somebody that's going to do 4 parks in a day every day if she can. So your mileage may vary.
Yeah.
On that. What do you need to be doing right now if you're getting ready?
I would say the biggest thing for people to do right now is to stay positive. And especially if you're just beginning your training, I always recommend, if you're going to do the Dopey Challenge and you're going to try to race either the half or the full marathon portion of the Dopey, that you should be able to, at least by the end of June, it would be good if you could finish a half marathon. Okay. and not be, and it not just completely cripple you and just have you down to where you can't walk for 2 weeks. That's a good starting point. But most, I will say, in my experience, most people do not do that. They kind of crank up their real training in July, and unfortunately, many of these people are, August is right around the corner, back to school, a lot of things going on there. You can very quickly run into some months where you don't get a lot of training done.
Right.
So I would say number one right now would be to stay positive. Stay positive about what you're doing and why you're doing this. That's something that's really, really big is why would you take on a challenge like this? There's a lot of really good stories you find out on the course of people overcoming some tremendous odds. This is just something that they never thought they would be able to compete in or to try to accomplish, and see a lot of tears at the finish line of people doing things that they just never thought they'd be able to do. So keep that why in mind and just stay positive right now. Even if you're going out and you're like, man, I could not go run 3 miles right now. And if that's where you are, if you think about that too much, it may overwhelm you.
Right.
Just stay positive about it. If you do, we end the podcast, every podcast saying, do hard things today and tomorrow will take care of itself. Focus on today. Focus on the things that you can do today. Get your training in. If you're following the Galloway plan, which is for free on the Run Disney website, it'll tell you exactly what to do. If you'll just do those things and not miss workouts, you're going to find your way to the finish line of the Dopey Challenge.
Why? That's the biggest question. And I know how you're wired a little bit from working with you every day, from knowing one another for a while now. I know why for you, because you have and you want to keep doing it. Dangle something out there to you that says, hey, you can do this. And there's, what is it now, 800 people who are perfect, I think, or is it more than that?
Oh no, it's less than that.
Okay.
I think we're down under 600 now.
Okay. Well, when you can, I know you enough to know that as long as you're breathing and can put one foot in front of the other, if you can be last, you'll be last. You'll be the last one to do it. You'll be the one that's left.
Yeah.
Why would somebody undertake this challenge now, 20 years into it, or 15 years into it?
Yeah. There's just many reasons out there. I mean, it can be, Jed, you just turned the big 5-0.
Yes, I did.
And I just turned the big 5-1. And when I started this, when the Dopey Challenge first started, I was turning 40 that year.
Right.
And just kind of laid out, hey, I'm going to do Dopey Challenge is starting. I'm going to do 10 of those. From 40 to 50, I'm going to do 10 years.
One a year, yeah.
And then it kind of got into things like, well, this is just what I do. And I'm going to keep doing them until till I literally physically cannot do them anymore.
Nobody make plans for Kevin until January 15th
Yep.
because he's not available.
Because I'll be in Disney doing the Dopey challenge. But what you find out there is you talk to people on the course, and it is people that have fought cancer. It is people who have been on a weight loss journey. It is people who have had traumatic events happen in their lives. It is people who just look and say, I need something really hard to do in my life to shoot for and to prove to myself that I can do it. And then you see those people. This is what always amazes me. When you finish a race like that, oftentimes we think that it's all about getting that medal at the end. And man, if I can just get that medal at the end, I'm going to feel so good. What you find is when you get that medal, yeah, the medal's awesome. And if you do the Dopey challenge, you get 6 big shiny medals, just as a side note. But what's most awesome is what goes through your mind right then. Just all the thoughts of all those training days, the hard work you did, the times you doubted yourself, the times you were struggling, discouraged, all those things, and you pushed through anyway. So there's many whys. I would encourage you, if you've signed up for this challenge, which 48.6 miles is a big challenge, understand what your why is and always keep that at your forefront.
With that said, and you mentioning needing to pick a plan, needing to get in shape, this is more than running or walking or putting one foot in front of the other. This is kind of an all-encompassing thing, and there are things that you need to be doing right now. What are some of those things? Yeah,
I mean, you need to pick out where you're going to stay. A lot of the places are already booked up.
I want to interject here. We didn't get our first choice, and then through a couple of bounces, we ended up getting our first choice. We were at Bay Lake Tower, which is a monorail resort. It's adjacent to the Contemporary. Being somewhere with two or more modes of getting to different places cannot be overstated. If you can stay at a Contemporary, at maybe a Polynesian, maybe a Grand Floridian, if you can stay at not so much for the races, but the boardwalk resorts for other day-to-day activities. If you can stay somewhere where it's more than just a bus, where you can rely on a couple of different things, I think it saved us hours last year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And you make a good point. I mean, on the monorail resorts, the monorail does run over to Epcot. Yep. Always caution people on those boardwalk resorts, you're very, very close to Epcot.
Yeah, but you can't go in the back.
But you can't go in the back, so you still have to take the bus to get over there. But it is very convenient outside of race time, where you can just walk right into Epcot, go get on the Skyliner, head over to Hollywood Studios, walk over there. So that's choose where you're going to stay, and then I 100% believe it's worth the money to stay on a Disney resort.
I believe it every trip.
Yeah,
I double believe it for the race, because you're guaranteed that transportation.
Yeah, because in a later episode we'll talk about the early mornings, but you're getting up early.
Yes,
and a lot of times it's like The Walking Dead at that time. I mean, it's 3:30, 3:45, 4 o'clock in the morning. If you can literally get out of your hotel room and make yourself to the lobby of the hotel, a bus will pick you up and take you to where you have to go. You don't have to worry about anything.
No, you're just about done at that point.
Yep. So, choose where you're going to stay. Choose your plan. Like I said, Jeff Galloway's got a great plan out there. Hal Higdon, other kind of training plans. Choose what that plan's going to be and start training today. Get your nutrition right. Figure out what you're gonna use. Look at what Disney's going to have on the course. You decide what your nutrition's going to be. Now is the time where if you have 10, 15 pounds that you need to drop, this would be a good opportunity to try to work on that. Once you get into those really, really heavy miles, this sounds crazy, but it's extremely hard when you get into heavy marathon training to drop weight at the same time.
I lost 10 pounds in the first month and a half that I was doing anything.
Yeah, that's time to do it. Yeah. That's the time to do it right when you start. And then some core and some strength training. We're gonna do some videos this year of some strength training routines, some core workouts that's something that really helps to carry you through on Sunday. And like I said, you're going to wake up, especially if this is your first one, on Sunday morning when you're standing at the start of that marathon portion of the Dopey. You're going to be tired. You're going to be sore. You're going to be hurting while you're standing there. And the stronger your core is, and the more you've been doing some of that strength cross training, the better shape you're going to be in to be able to finish strong on Sunday.
How about the competitive aspect? Do you need to be in races around here? Do you need to be in races in the next couple months? What do you need to do?
I think so. I think it's good to do a fall half marathon, just to give you something to shoot at. Because if you look at it and you're like, so I'm going to take July, August, September, October, November, December. I'm going to take 6 months of just training. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard just to.
What are you training for?
Yeah, what are you training for? Where you could have, hey, I've got a local half marathon that I'm going to do in October, just to kind of test myself and see where I am.
I'm laughing because that mindset is, I would be a below average to decent golfer if I practiced.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can hit some good shots. I can make some good putts. I'm fairly long off the tee. I don't practice. I hate to practice. I like to go play.
Yeah.
If I'm preparing to play in a tournament, I practice a little more. I'll go chip a few times. I'll hit a couple of extra putts. It's the same principle, right? You want that carrot out there in front of you.
100%. I mean, because if you don't, what ends up happening is you keep kicking the can down the road a little. Well, I've still got 6 months. Right. What if I miss a couple of training? Well, now I got 5 months. Well, I've still got 5 months. What if I miss a couple of? Whereas if you're looking and saying, well, in October, beginning of October, I've got a half marathon. Well, now you've just got about 2.5 months to train for that. And so you just drop that right into your training plan, Galloway, Higdon, whatever you're using, and then you just have something to shoot at. And you can set a little goal of what I want to be able to run a half marathon by in that point. Then you come off of that and you just go right back into your big training, and you have that behind you, and it kind of cuts it in half. Then that way, when you come off of that, once you get into October, November, December, there's not a whole lot of room for error. And we will talk about this as far as challenges in one of the later episodes. Once you get over into what happens the fourth Thursday of November?
Thanksgiving.
Not a big shock, is it?
No, it's pretty much going to happen.
Then does something happen over in December?
About a month later, you've got Christmas. Yeah.
And then like a week after that,
you're supposed to be running a marathon.
Yeah. And so that Thanksgiving to December time can be a really, really hard time.
Yes, it can.
To train, to eat right, to do whatever. I almost make that the time where, okay, I want to be so prepared by Thanksgiving that if everything goes to pot in the month of December, I'm still prepared to be able to go do the Dopey Challenge.
Right.
So these early times, while it may seem like it's a long way away, every single day that you train, you're laying those bricks. That's building that house that's going to get you through the Dopey Challenge.
When do you need to start planning for what you're going to do when you hit the course?
I think you need to start thinking about your strategy right now. You don't have to pick your strategy right now. I think there are, I really think there's like 4 strategies. And we do an episode that's nothing but race strategy. But I'll just tell you what those are. That's the marathon goal, where you're going to slow down. You're going to take the 5K, 10K, half marathon, extremely easy. Maybe even just walking them. Then you're going to go and you're going to target to run a strong, fast full marathon. Same thing with a half marathon, where you're just going to do the half. Your goal not being the marathon like goal 1, but your goal being, I want to run a strong half marathon. So you take the 5K and 10K, just kind of warming yourself up, run that half marathon as hard as you can. Understanding that the next day
on Sunday
you got a marathon, and so you're going to be taking it easy,
right.
Walking a lot, enjoying the characters. That might be the time that you stop at every character stop, do those things. You're taking it easy on Sunday. And then one that I think is I've tried all of these.
Okay.
This is the one that's the hardest, I believe, and it's treating every day like a race day. Go to the 5K, and you're lining up like you're at your local 5K, and you're going to run it as hard as you can.
Right.
Next day, you get up, do the same thing. 10K, run it as hard as you can. By the half marathon, get up, run that half marathon as hard as you can run it. I can tell you about mile 10 is when you're going to start realizing this probably wasn't a great idea.
Best idea.
You'll finish the half marathon fine. And then you get up and you're like, okay, in my plan, it says I'm supposed to run this marathon as fast as I can. Right. And the fastest I can run it is about a little trot.
Right.
Because when you run really hard, I tell people, I am as sore, if not, I feel worse after I go to a local 5K and run it as hard as I can, or a 10K, than I do when I go out and run a regular marathon.
Right.
And I don't know what it is. Physiologically, there's somebody out there right now raising their hand saying, I know why that is. I know why that is. I don't know why that is, but when I run really hard, it just beats my body down. So if you pick the every day as a race, then just be prepared. You're going to come a point in time on Saturday or Sunday when you're really going to be you're really going to be feeling rough. But you'll still have a good time. And the last one is to just go and have a good time. Just treat it like train, be prepared for, but you're going to hit every character stop. You're going to ride the rides. You're going to do whatever. You're going to take it as long as it takes out on that course, and you're just going to go have a good time because it's at Disney. You pay a lot of money to do this. And so some people might choose that.
Yeah. I did, so that was that was fun. And I know we're about to wrap this up, but if you've got one word you can share with folks as to how to be successful at this stage of getting ready, what is it?
Okay, here comes the magic word.
Okay,
everybody lean in. Is everybody leaning in?
Yeah, I can feel them.
Can you feel them leaning in? Here comes the magic word. Consistency. And I know now everybody's disappointed and they wanted something. But the magic word is consistent. If you will be consistent. Here's the great news and terrible news. Terrible news is this. If you're not consistent in your training leading up to the Dopey Challenge, you're going to have some rough times out there on the course. Been there. The great news is this. If you'll just be consistent, no matter how slow you're going, if you will just be consistent, this will be one of the most fun things that you ever do. Hard things. Hard. But it's going to be one of the most fun and fulfilling things you will ever do. I just want to encourage you on this. Just even now, when you're in July, moving into August, just get the training in. Just get even. Here's one of the hard things right now. Your training may just say 30-minute walk run.
Right.
Well, if you think about that, it's like, well, that's not that much. So if I miss it, it's really not going to be that big of a deal. But it is, because the next week it may be a 40-minute one. And then the week after that, maybe 45. And then it just these things build on top of each other. You can't skip steps. You've got to follow every step, be consistent. And if you'll be consistent, it will take you to the finish line of the Dopey Challenge, which is where everybody is trying to get to.
All right. Well, I'm not running it this year, but I'm going to run somewhere and do something.
And I think one day you're going to do the Dopey Challenge with me. I'll drag you out there.
Maybe. Better hurry.
Yeah. Well, hey, you better hurry. Hey, it's not for everybody, but it's a really fun thing. And especially if you're listening to it at this point, you're already signed up, already got your proof of time in, and now you're just counting down the days until it gets there. Be consistent, stay positive, pick out your strategy, get your room booked if you haven't already. Get that taken care of, and we'll come back. We'll have probably 3 or 4 of these leading up to the series. We'll take your questions and different things in all the different Facebook groups and stuff. We appreciate you listening to this, and this is This is always one of our most popular podcast episodes every year for all the Run Disney fans. But if you follow us and Do Hard Things Today, we got a Facebook page, we got Instagram. We're going to be doing some TikTok videos, YouTube, that kind of thing. Give us a like. Give us a rating if you would. Go on and give us a rating wherever you find, whether it's Spotify, Apple, wherever it is that you find your podcast. Leave us a review. That always helps. More important than anything, do hard things today. Tomorrow will take care of itself.